Hello Flosstube, it's Lori of SenoritaStitches. Welcome to my channel. For all of you that are returning to visit with me, thank you so much. And for anyone that is here for the first time, that is new to viewing my channel, I want you to sit back and enjoy. I'm here to share with you my current cross stitch pieces, a couple of finishes from this past week. I've got a little bit of haul and a newly framed piece. I also got a lot of questions on my last video, which is not unusual to get questions. It was just unusual to get that amount of questions. So this week I wrote them down so that I wouldn't forget to answer any of the questions, and I'm going to start off with those. Now those questions may lead me to showing you some of my projects or finishes, but that's just a great lead into those things. So I'm going to start off with the questions. I last week showed a finish on a Prairie schooler piece, and this was Christmas Eve, and I had started it on a even weave 32 count Jobelin with 1/2, which is 1 DMC thread over 2 linen threads, and it was just too sparse. I wasn't enjoying the fabric and I changed it. Instead of just ripping those stitches out, because I got a good way into the piece, instead of ripping the pieces out and starting anew, I decided to, at the suggestion of another commenter, to repurpose that piece. And I did. So I finished it into this little hoop, and I got a lot of questions on the finishing. So this is just a regular wooden hoop that you could pick up at Walmart or Hobby Lobby, and I had picked it up at a secondhand store. What I did is I did not do anything to the inner hoop. It is the same, just plain blonde wood that our hoops come in. What I did was paint the outer hoop. First, I sanded it down, because we all know that if they're unused and they become a little bit, well, weathered. And so they're a little rough on your hands. So I sanded it down, and then I painted it. And I had a question about the paint that I used. Hold on just a second. I thought I had it right here. I must have dropped it. Here it is. I used the Deco Art Americana acrylic paint in Heritage Brick. And I had used this earlier in the year on a wood finish for a blackbird design. So I sanded the hoop, and then I painted it. I actually gave it 2 coats of paint, let them dry, then I sanded it again because I want it to have a little bit of a worn look. See right there, you can see a little bit of the wood. And so I sanded it to give it that look, that weathered look. Once I was done with that, and it was dry, and I had given it that second sand, I covered it with this brie wax. Now this is a small container, and I mainly use this wax just for my cross stitch finishing. I ordered it on Amazon, and I'll link that below. And I've ordered it like 2-3 years ago. It is still more than halfway full. You only a little dab will do you, so you don't use very much in your finishing, because what we're finishing is just small items. So just know that this is what's used. It comes in different colors, and the one that I have is Tudor Brown, which is a dark brown. And when you use that on just a regular wood, even when it's been painted, it just gives it a darker hue. It ages it. Has the same effect as if you were tea or coffee dyeing a piece of fabric. So once again, brie wax and the Heritage Brick Americana acrylic paint, and I got this from Hobby Lobby. I do know that Walmart also carries those acrylic paints, but I really don't know what brand they are. Also, let's see, I got a question about one of the Prairie schoolers that I showed last week, and this is an older design that I had picked up at a sale last year, and someone wanted to know the name of this one, and I don't even think it says Amish Life. So the name of this one is Amish Life. And I had mentioned that I'm going to stitch the newest Prairie schooler, which is North Wind. And I'm going to stitch this one as well, but when it comes to the quilt squares there, I'm going to change them to the Christmas colors that are in North Wind. And that'll segue me into sharing with you, here are the colors for the newest Prairie Schooler ornament for this year. And I put them on my new floss tags that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. If you remember in the last video I shared with you, I'm going to grab some. It is just a little card paper craft Santa. And what I did was I punched it with a 0.625, I believe, paper punch. And then I have a pair of hole punches that I put the hole. And I wanted Santa's face to show. Generally, I use a 1-inch paper punch, but it was gonna punch right into his beard and probably into the bottom of his face, possibly his mouth. So I bought a smaller one, and like I said, this is a 0.625, I believe, and you can see the difference. But guess what? There's plenty of room for your threads. And then that way, the hole was punched just into his beard, and I made sure to strategically place the hole away from his face as well. I didn't want it to touch the holly in his hat. I wanted it off on the side. So symmetrical, one beneath another, it is not. But I wanted to be able to see Santa's face. That was my whole thing. And I have an idea, and it is based on something that Carol Saltbox Stitcher had mentioned several videos ago, of how when she buys a Blackbird book, she goes ahead and buys all the threads because those same threads are all used within the patterns of the book. I want to do the same thing with Prairie Schooler. So using these specific floss tags, and I did buy another package of them when I purchased these, I went ahead and put these on, but I have some others that as I stitch some Prairie Schoolers, I'm going to put those colors. So this would be my Prairie Schooler ring. Hopefully I'll make a floss ring for those eventually too, the little charm. And I got some questions about those paper punches. Someone reached out to me yesterday and wanted to know the item number. And so I'm just going to share with you real quick, because she said she did find them online. But here are the numbers for these Santa paper pieces. And let me show you the back as well, in case you want to reach out and grab a pack of them yourself. All right. So in addition to using the paper punch, I also just used regular hole punches. I have been buying the little cutesy, the small holes like this. There was one that I purchased that was a star, and putting them on a floss ring would, of course, kind of wear down the points on the inside of the star. So then I went to a heart, and I really like the heart, but the last time I used it, the punch didn't last very long. And so I went ahead and just went with a regular punch so I can put pressure on it. That's the only thing it's made for, is that. But I have learned over making floss tags that Fisker's brand is the best. You get what you pay for. When I buy the Hobby Lobby brand, most things with Hobby Lobby I have no problem, but my punches don't seem to last very long. And so I've slowly but surely, as those would break or stop functioning correctly, I've been switching over to Fisker's. And I had bought them at my local Joann's when they would have their sales at the beginning of the year, when they're shifting out inventory from last year to this year. So anyway, those are the answers to those questions. And this week, when I went back to pick up a frame piece, I actually picked up a few more paper pieces. And this is the tags. And let me show you the code on that one as well. And I did use my 1-inch piece in these. Some of them say Christmas, some of them don't, but as you can see, the ones, I've already punched them. There's already a hole for the ring. I punched the ones that had Merry Christmas in them a little higher because I didn't want to mess up the wording, and all the others are lower. And I've got another Christmas start that I plan to make this year, and I wanted these for that. So there's that. So I'm going to put this stuff away. Bear with me just a second to get it off of my lap. And okay. So last week I shared with all of you my current crochet project. I was making, or I had begun to crochet a pumpkin, and I've since finished 2 pumpkins. This is the first one, and this was stitched with Lion brand homespun, and this one is Forest Fire. I did mention it in my last video, but I don't remember. But it's something fire. And I just love it. I love it. I had a lot of questions about asking for my dimensions, asking what video I used. I really didn't use a specific video. I just kind of, I found something on Pinterest and I just kind of went with it. And I did view a couple of videos, but what I did is not going to match them specifically. But I will put the one of the videos I watched, I will link it below, that shows most closely what I did. So there's this. In the video, the young lady who gave the instructions showed how to crochet the stem. I had these large cinnamon sticks left over. I really like the idea of using them. The other thing with these are, you can see it's not perfect and symmetrical. Are the ones that come from the garden? No, they're not. That's one of the quirky things that I love about this. You're going to be stuffing it yourself. But it was fun to make. Let me show you my other one. This one was also done in Lion brand homespun, and this is in the color Pearls, and this one's a little bit smaller. I love their little cinched up bottom, but here they are. My daughter's still here with her little, I call him her love child. It's her little cat, Rick, or she calls him Ricky. His full name is Ricky Puddin' Pop Jones. That's what she named him. But when I finished this second one up on Thursday night, I placed them, and we have one of our dining room chairs. We have the leaf pulled out of our table. So, you know, you have those 2 extra chairs, and one of them is placed up against the wall in the dining room. And I had placed them in the seat of that chair just like this, just so I could see them, just because I knew I would be decorating for fall after tomorrow, which is Labor Day. Happy Labor Day, everyone. And I got up the next morning, yesterday morning, and he had just popped them right into the floor. Why? I don't know. Does he not like them? I don't know, but there was no one else that could have did it. He had not been playing with them because they were just right outside the seat of the chair. He just didn't like them. So living with a cat. But here they are. I think they're so quirky. They're fun. I will be making more. I'm going to continue to use the stems. I know that a Instagram friend, Frenzy Fingers, that's her handle there on Instagram. She finished up a couple of these as well, or one of them as well, and she used the cinnamon stick on hers as the stem, but she put some homespun. She tied it around the base of the cinnamon stick to give it as leaves. I really like that idea too. We're all so creative. We all offer so many wonderful ideas to each other, not intend, you know, just to share, and then someone else takes ideas and keeps rolling. I think it's wonderful. But I'm going to share these 2 yarns. I have enough of this one to do another quirky, fun, small one. And one other thing, because I didn't necessarily follow a pattern, with this one, I started with a chain of 35 stitches. And once the chain is complete, you skip into the second stitch, and then you do single crochet into the back thread of the previous stitch, back and forth till you get to the end. This one, the best way I can tell you is the width of it, the 35 stitches wide. I could fold this 2.5 times over the length, meaning I could fold it over like you would a flag, from corner over and then fold it up and corner over. This one was 35 stitches chained, and I could fold it over 2.5 times. This one, I chained 25 stitches, did the same thing, but folded it over 3 times. So this is just the difference between 10 inches of the first chain. But I love them both. I didn't want them the same size, because think of all of our home decor on our front porches, or in some of your neighborhood businesses at fall. There's all different types of squash and pumpkins and corn, and all different kind of colors and all different sizes, and some are beautiful and perfect, and others have blemishes, but they're all beautiful in their same way. I didn't want these to be perfect. I wanted them to be a little wonky and a little off. It gives them character, because aren't we all different? There you go with that. Let's see what else. I showed everyone a shaker box that I had picked out last weekend at a local junk shop. I was not able to find the specific person that made that one. There's no markings on the outside of it. I did Google it, different names, just trying to find something that's even similar. My friend Caroline said that she had one just like it with a pink inside. Another lady found a shop that sells them on Etsy, and it's NH Shaker. So I'm thinking that's New Hampshire Shaker. What I will do was we'll put a link to that below as well. So any of you that are interested in ordering one for yourself will have the opportunity to do so. So just look for that below as well. Let's see. I had a start this week. As we all know, September 1st was the start of the September Sampler hashtag, or the September Sampler Soiree, which is hosted by SenoritaStitches off of Instagram. I share with you a few of my samplers that I've been itching to start. And after reading the prayer off of Disturb Us, Lord, I knew at that moment, even before the video was over, I was going to start it, and I did. I made a small start. There's not much to show, but I am going to show you what I did start on. This is my big toe, Disturb Us, Lord. It's the prayer of Sir Francis Drake. And let me share with you the colors. They're beautiful colors. I did post a picture on Instagram of the pattern along with the threads. But there you go. And the fabric that I'm using is 36 count platinum Edinburgh linen. And I'm going to show it to you up against the fabric. This is just one of my go-to. I got a lot of questions about what I like to stitch on, that kind of thing, this week too. So over the past year, 40 count has become more difficult for me. I do have to wear readers now, where 2 years ago I did not. I do now have to wear them. So 36 is more comfortable for me. I still like the look of 40 count. Those are my two favorite counts of linen. A lot of people lately have been talking about 37 count, but I haven't used 37 count yet. But here is my start on Disturb Us, Lord. So it's just the first band. I've shared many times over the past few videos, my goal for 2020 was to go out of the year with less whips than I entered, and not to go out of the year with anything I started within 2020. So this is my new goal for myself, my mini goal that falls underneath the original goal. I've got to work hard to get this finished before December. The problem is I have already obligated myself for a couple of other stitch alongs, so I've got a lot of stitching to do. I generally stitch every day. This week was a little unusual. There was 3 days actually I didn't stitch. I stitched on the 1st, not the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. I picked up my needle again yesterday. I generally stitch every day. I'm an empty nester. My daughter is here temporarily right now till they buy their first home, with her husband getting out of the military. But overall, you know, she works, she's in and out. But for the most part, it's just my husband and myself. So every day after work, I come in and I stitch for at least an hour. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 hours, depending on what time I'm able to leave work and how tired I am. So I just stitch till I'm ready to go to bed, pretty much. On the weekends, it's not much different, especially with COVID. I'm home a lot more than I was before. We're just now, last weekend and this weekend, we've got out a little bit yesterday. We're wearing our masks like everyone else that are around us, which I think is amazing that it was such an easy transition to do that when you realized you're keeping yourself and others safe. But we've gotten out a little bit the past 2 weekends, and it's been wonderful. But like today, after this video, I'll probably stitch for a couple hours until dinner, and it's great. So I'm going to share with you what I'm stitching on today. Every weekend I focus on Saturday and Sunday. I focus on a piece. Last weekend it was Cooper. This weekend it is Owl Forest Embroidery Southern Land. It is 4 colors. Owl Forest Embroidery has their own threads, but they also give you a DMC conversion, and I'm using the suggested DMC threads because I love this color photo. I didn't want to change anything about it. I didn't feel there was a need to. I am stitching it on a 36 count, is it 36? 32 count Jobelin even weave, and this is where I am. When I last shared it, I had made a page finish on this top left corner, so it has a page 1 finished, and today I'm hoping to finish page 2. This is the median of the page 2, and after I finish up that portion of this border, there's some red stitching down in here and I'll be done. So I will reach this weekend's goal, and I should have a page 2 finish on this one no later than tomorrow. I'm stitching it with 2 strands of DMC threads, 2 strands of threads over 2 linen threads. And I use the pin stitch on this. I've gotten some questions from different people. I did a pin stitch tutorial video a couple of years ago, and it's my most viewed video. I still get questions about it, and this week was no exception. I personally would not use the pin stitch on 28 count unless you're stitching with a thicker thread. Those threads are going to slip. The pin stitch is not going to hold tautly. This is a 32 count, and as you can see, the weave is pretty tight. I'm only using 2 DMC threads, but I have no problems whatsoever with the pin stitch on this one. However, on the finished piece that I'm going to show you here shortly, that I had framed, I stitched that one 32 count with 1 strand of thread because I thought the weave was tight. I see 2 threads that's slipping in that framed piece. It's a little disappointing for me. Would you necessarily know it unless you're a stitcher and you got your face into the frame? No, you wouldn't. But it taught me something. It taught me not to do that again. 36 count, I don't have a problem stitching one strand over 2. 32 is pushing it with 1 over 2. Some things I have stitched that way, others I'm iffy. I was iffy with Sally Spencer. I was iffy with Prairie Schooler, and one of the reasons I was iffy with Prairie Schooler is I saw the finished look of Sally Spencer, even though it's a beautiful piece, it was a little sparse, and I went ahead with it anyway. I'm so glad I switched over on that Christmas Eve to 2/2 on the 32. But anyway, here is Sutherland. Let's see what else we've got. Give me just a second. Sutherland, by the way, is going to be a relatively large piece. Let me get the dimensions out real quick and share those with you. On 32 count, which is what I'm using, is 30 by 38.5 centimeters. So it's 189 stitches wide by 243 stitches long. So a very large piece. This week, I've not gotten a chance to work on my La-Di-Da piece. The more I work on it, the more addictive she becomes. But this is Margaret Cottam. And I brought her out to share with you, even though I have not worked on her this week, is because another commenter let me know that Lori Markovich of La-Di-Da has some of those patterns. It's a 3-part mystery sampler. This is part 1. They're all shaped in this piece. Each piece will give you a picture that shows you the next portion and your patterns on the back of it. I was told by this commenter that Lori has additional pieces, and then if you reach out to her on ladida.net, and you do put the dash in between la and d, and then between d and da, that she will send them out to you directly. So if you're interested in having that piece, as many of you have questioned me, please reach out to her. I will put that website below. And I wish you luck. I hope you get one if you want one. I know that I'm enjoying her. I'm stitching her on the called for fabric, which is Cocoa by Weeks Dye Work. This is the old base, but I'm using the called for threads as well because I think it's beautiful just as it is. There was no need for me to change anything. What else did I work on this week? Cooper. I picked up Cooper again Friday for Friendship Friday. Here he is in all his glory and his big old breast. I just say if you were to fry that breast up, you would be eating off of it for days. He has a huge breast when I consider stitching him. Here he is. I got a little more completed on the branch. I also completed the last letter, so this is the bottom left-hand corner of Cooper. I have almost finished all the letters on this side. So when I pick it up today, I'm going to put a couple more. When I say pick it up today, I plan on focusing on Sutherland, but I had made a deal with myself because I started Disturb Us Lord that I have to finish him this month. And I want to come as close as possible to finishing Christmas Eve this month because remember, I have 2 more starts this month. So that'll knock 2 whips out, but it'll give me a total of 3 more starts. So I want to knock a couple of these out. I can do it. I can do it. So what I'm doing is every day I'm putting 3 strands of thread in Cooper. So because I didn't stitch on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Anyway, there was a couple nights this week I didn't stitch. I decided that would put 6 strands into him yesterday. And because I'm stitching him 1 over 1 on 40 count, 6 strands of thread goes a long way. So I got all of that finished yesterday. So today I will pick up and stitch in another 3 strands into him. And hopefully by the next video, that is going to be my short-term goal. I'm going to have Cooper finished. And I'm going to share him with you. Okay, that's Cooper. I can put Cooper away. Then I have got a frame piece I want to share with you. This is Sally Spencer. This is by Birds of a Feather. I stitched her with several of my Flosstube friends and Instagram friends. 2 years ago, I started it in 2018. We did the Mustang Sally Stitch Along. And here she is. So I added lots of different initials for different ones that were stitching on it. And I tried to research those initials yesterday on Instagram, and I was having not having a lot of luck, because there's been another stitch along since we started this one, and I'm having to not only look at the pictures, but see the date. But the ones that I know that are in here are Socks for Mom, Becky, Michelle the Striped Rose, Michelle Bendy Stitchy, Donna Barrow, which is Donna Ray here on Flosstube. Let's see, Jan Hicks, Leslie Hurley, which is Fat Cat Flossing, and lots of others. So if I can't remember who the initials are, please forgive me if you see yours there. But I'm very happy with this piece, but I'm not very happy with the framing this time. If you can see the lines, the outside lines doesn't bother me if they're not even, so much as the lines in the center. This is kind of angled up. When I picked it up, it was covered in plastic, and I brought it home before I pulled the plastic off. Didn't notice it, but I will be taking it back in to have them restretch it, because even this plant here, see the base of that pot? That is just unforgivably wonky. So there's that. But overall, I love the frame. It's a dark blue. I put another fillet inside. I used a light colored 36 count Sahara Zweigert fabric. It was a little too light for this piece because you can't even see the W, but it is definitely there. And so I put this white fillet in to kind of break up the stark contrast between the light fabric and a dark frame. And I think it turned out perfectly. Just a couple more things before I let you go. Had a junking day yesterday with my husband. We got groceries, filled the cars up with gas, you know, all the weekend chores. And I stopped at a junk shop and I found a cigarette box full of I Spies. So there is an old Air Force hat, which makes me think of my son, and lots of patches, belt buckles, lots of different types of thimbles. When I say lots of different types, most of them are sewing. One of them is a Monopoly piece. Little coins, little tokens. I'm assuming that the gentleman that had these was Catholic. There's lots of there's marbles. Just love it. This is for a child. This would just be just a treasure trove. Just a treasure trove. But lots of buttons. Buttons and pins that I plan to use on future patriotic finishes. So I love that. And I picked up one other thing. I've been wanting one. I found one that was... It's a travel iron. I know that we have I could buy a brand new Clover iron, a little small iron. I wanted an old one. So I've got all the pieces. It looks brand new. Look at this cord. And of course, there's the handle that you hook in. I love it. This is the original box. It's been well used. This went on many trips with the owner of this iron, but I'm so happy to have this. So those were my finds from yesterday. I'm interested. Share with me below when you go junking or you go thrifting. Someone told me they don't do in the Midwest. They don't do junking. They go to thrift stores. So if you go thrifting or junking or anything like that, share with me below what you look for. I'm interested to see. I generally look for military buttons and patches. I always look at the doilies and anything that's embroidered and needlepoint cross stitch. I look for knitting hooks and crochet hooks, and I love old coffee pots. I've got a couple of the silver basic perk coffee pots. I love them. And there is some dishware that has a cross stitch pattern on there, and I have a couple of teacups from that. So I'm just interested in what all of you look for when you go thrifting. One more thing and I'm going to let you go, because this is a long one for me. I usually don't have videos this long, but I had a little bit of haul this week and I wanted to share it with you. This is a bag from Goose Designs. It's my first bag from her. It's fall. I love a pumpkin. This is only my second vinyl front bag. My first one was a gift from my friend Diana. And the reason I purchased this one is she was offering a special at the time I bought it, and she had these inside. And I love the way she's made them. It's just a little sweet little touches that make things special. But I purchased one of these. I'm going to grab it. This is from Caddy Cross Stitches. I bought this several months ago, and it had a cross stitch pattern, and I bought it just to try it out. There were larger ones. This is just a small one. And it stays on my stitch table, and I use this all the time as I'm stitching, and I pull a couple of strands off of my floss tag and I'm not using those. I put them here, and because it's felt, the stitches lay there. So I don't get up and walk away and have threads hanging from my pants or my shirt like normal. They're here, and I love that. So the idea of having this one in this bag to travel with, so when I go to a stitch or I go to a friend's or what have you, I've got one of these in my bag that keeps my threads right there near me. So this bag, I plan to put Disturb Us Lord in it. But the inside, I didn't show you the inside, is sweet little campers. My husband and I are hoping to get a camper this year, so this time next year, hopefully, I will have a camper of my own. But that was kind of made me think of it, made me want to commemorate it a little bit, that we're going to be purchasing a camper soon. I also picked up a couple of Fine Line magazines. As I told you, there are 4 of them. I got them off of eBay, and I'm going to be starting this sweet sampler with a few friends. This is another Plymouth sampler. There's so many people stitching different Plymouth samplers right now, commemorating that voyage, and I wanted to be a part of it. So this is one of the other 2 pieces that I plan on starting this month. But like I said, I picked these up off of eBay, and to me, these other 3 were just a bonus. 1-2-3 Stitch was having a sale, and I picked up a couple of patterns. I think I dropped one. I did. Excuse me. They were having a sale. I think it was 20% off week before last on Needlework Press, and I picked up Lucy Moore, and then I picked up the Quaker Inspired medallions. This is number 1. There is a number 2, and I plan on picking those up. But I love the little sayings inside. Count no day lost. Sweet are the joys of home. Each stitch proclaims my steady hand. Strive for simplicity of heart. Brighten weary spirits, and neglect not family and friends. So I plan on picking the second one up as well. But I read all about Lucy Moore when I received this pattern in. So it gives you the story of the young lady who stitched the original, as well as her teacher, who she commemorates inside of her sampler. It's a really interesting story. I won't ruin it for you. I'll let you read it when you get your copy. And the last thing I received is my fabric for my newest start. That'll be another piece I share with you. And I got it from Kitten Stitcher. And I always love seeing her little cat stickers. I actually pulled them off of the last one, and I have it posted up on my little wall. I've got a wall where I put my cards and postcards I received from my friends. And so Zero was on that sticker, and he's up there. But this was a sweet little notion inside. And I also got the XG Designs silk threads, and it also come with a little bit of pom-pom trim in there. And she was offering those as a special, and I picked those up. Those are beautiful. But here is my fabric for My newest start this month, or will be a new start. This is 36 count straw, and this is for Plum Street Samplers 12 Days of Christmas. These are the reds that I chose. I've got 115, 498, 816, 817, and 321. Now, why do I have them all? Am I going to use them all? No. I wanted to compare them on this fabric. Oh. And because it's mostly monochrome, I probably will add other colors in. I was scared that I would buy one, I would use something I have in my stash and not have enough. So I wanted to try which colors I like, and then I'll go back and pick up a couple more. But what do you think? I'm actually leaning really heavy towards this 817, which is, to me, is not a Christmas red. My husband and I were having a discussion because he was with me yesterday when I picked up these threads. I tend to go towards burgundy and dark reds for Christmas, always. I rarely go towards the true reds. So he picked up the 321, and I was like, that's just too bright. And he said, but that, yours is burgundy. It's garnet. It's not red. And I thought, well, yeah, he's right, but 817 is bright too, especially in this light here. I love the orangey undertone, and I think it'll look really great on this straw. But tell me what you think. I've used 115 and two other samplers. One was to commemorate my grandson, and the second one was the birds and berries that I recently finished and shared with you. But I really don't want to use it again. It's a beautiful color, a variegated color, which is there in the center. I really like it, but but I'm leaning towards this 817. Like I said, it's unusual for me. It's okay to step out of my comfort zone. I've got stuff spread out here everywhere. I've enjoyed this chat. I usually do not do one this long, but I have enjoyed it today. So thanks for visiting with me. Thanks for listening to me prattle on about my stitch-filled week. And if you have any questions, leave them below. I've really enjoyed answering the questions today, and I hope you'll come back and join me again next week, and I'll answer any questions that I have from this week. So have a wonderful upcoming week. Cross all the stitches. Stay safe. I wish you all to remain healthy, and until then, hugs and stitches. Bye-bye.